Hello neighbor, I'm Robert Burns, and we are once again coming to you for another Sound Off Louisiana feature. As many of you would easily recognize, I have Mr. Billy Broussard seated to my left, and I'm going to just take just a couple of seconds, it will not take long, with regard to our last feature, that being the House Bill 327 by Representative Villio. It is my understanding that she has parked that bill. That is certainly a very positive development, and we are appreciative of her taking that action, obviously, because it is a bill that, well, the sentiments were made known in the prior post, and I want to thank the three young ladies who so graciously were willing to sound off, because that's why the whole blog was formed, was to allow folk like that the opportunity to sound off. Now, we do have Billy Broussard here once again, and as you saw in the headline, Billy Broussard has now formed an online petition and has gotten quite a few signatures, and we're going to give you the link wherein you can also sign the petition. What he is seeking is to have the restraining order that was placed on him some 6 years ago, violating his constitutional rights, in that he was prohibited from making public records requests of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury, as well as even speaking with members of that police jury. Clear and unequivocal violation of his constitutional rights, and the petition says what it says. I'm not going to go over it, but it gives you a real quick synopsis of what transpired. But I do want to emphasize one thing. Billy didn't just up and do this petition. After a recent feature that we did, it was the Sneak a Smooch feature, Billy sent an email to Sam Gabb, who is the attorney for the police jury, and he made a very simple request, and that was to be placed on the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury agenda to discuss the whole matter about Rusty Stutes. And I'm going to read to you first Mr. Gabb's response and then Billy's response. We're going to give you a link for every bit of this, but I want to read it to you because I think it's very interesting. So Mr. Gabb responded to Billy on March the 30th, 2021, shortly after he sent him this feature, the Sneak a Smooch feature, and it said, Mr. Broussard, the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury has nothing related to the issues addressed in your email on any upcoming agendas. In addition, now there's the key part, the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury has not retained and has no plans to retain Rusty Stutes to handle any matters involving you or any company that you might own. As such, the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury's rules will not allow any discussion or your comments on those issues. Now, Billy replied back about 4 hours later, and I want to read that one, and then we'll wrap up this feature, because we're going to have what is going to be a backup feature. It's a video beneath this one where we're going to get much more into the weeds, but for those of you who just want the Just the Facts, Joe Friday, Just the Facts, ma'am, that's what this first video is for. So Billy responds to Mr. Gabb, and here's what he says. Mr. Gabb, I genuinely appreciate the email below assuring me that the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury, quote, has not retained and has no plans to retain Rusty Stutes to handle any matters involving you or any company that you might own, unquote. That is certainly reassuring to know and for you to have documented that fact in writing. That fact, however, does nothing to relieve me from the blatantly illegal restraining order which both Stutes and yourself placed me under, both for the former drainage district as well as the current Calcasieu Parish Police Jury. Further, both you and Rusty initiated these actions without first obtaining approval from your respective governmental bodies. Additionally, past public records requests by Sound Off Louisiana founder Robert Burns, that would be me, to yourself and Stutes for invoices pertaining to services related to the filing of the blatantly illegal restraining order resulted in Stutes being a complete obstructionist to the request, and you admitting that, quote, I did not bill the police jury for my services, unquote. You likely did not bill the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury because you did not want them knowing that you were taking such a blatantly illegal act into your own hands. Further, we both know that the actual person who insisted upon the filing of the restraining order, Kelly Fontenot. It is my contention, along with a number of other individuals with whom I've met, many of whom are attorneys who share my conviction, that both you and she acted in an illegal manner in taking the action that you did. I had to dress down my own former attorney, Robin Sylvester, for her lacking the guts and the conviction to properly represent me, and subpoena Ms. Fontenot for a court hearing on October the 25th, 2018. The best thing about Sound Off Louisiana features is that they are thorough and leave no stone unturned. My email to Ms. Sylvester is thus readily available for your review, the same way it has been for the numerous people with whom I've met on this matter at the following link, and he provides the link. That email was one small component of a much broader investigative feature by Sound Off Louisiana, in which I captured Miss Sylvester, whom I recorded on tape saying, quote, "No S blank blank blank, Billy, the restraining order is illegal." That's one of many attorneys who have blatantly characterized that. This is not in the, I'm adding a little commentary. She's just one of the many attorneys who have said that Mr. Gabb and Mr. Stutes acted in an illegal manner. And she admitted in her audio recording to withdrawing as my counsel because of me asking her to, this is her words, quote, "go up against Rusty Stutes, Kelly Fontenot, and crooked judges." Here's the link for that extensive feature, and he provides the link. So here's where we stand, Mr. Gabb. Given that the restraining order, as assessed by many lawyers and other elected officials of prominence in this state, is, quote, "blatantly illegal," and given that it was you who initiated the action, I realize you indicated to Burns that you were essentially, quote, "along for the ride," unquote, and Stutes was almost exclusively responsible for the restraining order, but it is your signature on the motion seeking the order from Judge Ritchie, which, I might add, as has been noted by many of those same attorneys, was on a case which had been closed for years rather than following the proper procedure of initiating a new legal action. I am asking you to draft another motion to be presented to the court dissolving the restraining order. It is up to you if you want to present the matter to the CPPJ or not. But the bottom line is that I want the restraining order, which never should have been filed in the first place, to be dissolved immediately. And it should be you, as the filer, who files to dissolve it. Thank you for taking the time to read this email, and I fully expect your compliance of initiating a motion before the court to dissolve the restraining order against me that remains outstanding. If such an initiative is not forthcoming on your part, it is my intent to circulate a petition amongst Calcasieu Parish voters and others seeking support for the dissolving of the restraining order. Given recent events in Calcasieu Parish entailing corruption under former DA John DeRozier, especially his money laundering gift card program, combined with the sentiments that I already know exist in Calcasieu Parish voters concerning me, I have little doubt on my ability to obtain a massive number of signatures supporting my efforts to have the restraining order dissolved. Upon obtaining the signatures, I already have a designee who has agreed to personally present the petition to the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury. Thank you again for your time. Now, many of you may be familiar with the website change.org, and it makes the petition process quite a bit more efficient. And he submitted that petition, created it about approximately 4 weeks ago. He gave Sam Gabb about 3 weeks to respond to this email. Sam Gabb went completely incognito, would not even so much as dignify this with a response, and I think the reasons are obvious. He knows he's been caught in a blatantly illegal act, and so here we are. And I'm going to let Billy provide any commentary he'd like to provide to wrap it up. As I said, we're going to do a second feature where we're going to get far more in the weeds about what all happened here, but we're going to provide you the link. And I would encourage everybody, if you believe in constitutional rights, and I would hope that every American and certainly everyone listening and watching this video does, then I was one of the first ones to sign up. I have been through this matter thoroughly with him, more so than any other subject I've ever done. I've got more features on him than any other because this is such an egregious violation of his constitutional rights. And when I could not believe it when he first presented it to me. I thought this had to be made up, because last time I checked, we lived in the United States of America and not Russia. But based upon what he endured, I would question if our Calcasieu Parish does not much more resemble Russia than the United States. So that's going to be it for me. I'm going to let Billy have any concluding remarks he'd like to make about this. We're going to provide you with the link. I think he got about, I don't know, 70 signatures right off the bat, and now we are seeking to have more people join in those efforts. Many of you have learned about I'm not on Facebook anymore. I think everybody knows that. So it was completely dependent upon others to disseminate it until this point. And so we're going to make sure the members of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury see this petition, and the fact that for whatever reason Sam Gabb continues 6 years after the fact of not wanting Billy Broussard to be able to talk with members of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury. Billy, why don't you kind of wrap it up in saying what you'd like to say, and then we'll, for those that would be interested, we'll go into the second video where we're going to get far more into the weeds about some things that have transpired here in the not too distant past. Billy?
At this point, I just appreciate everyone that have signed the petition already, and I appreciate everyone that's going to consider signing it, and so we can present this to them. I just think it's something that, like you said, if anybody believes in the Constitution and someone's constitutional right, I think in the second video we'll get into the weeds on why would someone even put a restraining order on me, denying me my constitutional right, public, to be able to get public records or to speak to the police jury. But at this point, I just want to tell everyone that I appreciate them signing this petition, and please share it with as many people as you can. And
that's something I should have also acknowledged. I think it's around 70 signatures right now. I cannot thank those 70 people enough, because it means you were willing to stand up and say that enough is enough. This is absolutely outrageous. It's beyond outrageous. I want to thank every single one of the 70 or so who have signed it, and I want to thank you in advance for those of you who see this feature and choose to also sign it. Whether it's got 75 signatures or 10,000 signatures after this has been broadcast and spread, it will be presented to the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury, because we believe it's time that they, as the employer of Sam Gabb, order that this restraining order be dissolved and let this gentleman speak on just what all happened quite a few years ago, well over a decade ago. It's hard to believe how long this has been. But in the second feature, it's going to be a video beneath this one, for those of you who would like to get some more details, we're going to get into weeds. I think you'll find it fascinating, but if you've seen enough, then we want to thank you for tuning in, and we certainly would really like to thank you for your willingness to sign that petition. So this is Robert Burns. We're wrapping it up for phase 1 of this episode, and we welcome those of you to stick around. We're going to have episode 2 right beneath this video. For those of you who do choose to go on to call it a day, thank you once again. For those of you who want to see more detail, we look forward to you joining us for the second segment. Thank you so much.